we'll get this meeting going. It's 3:33. We got everybody here. I will say there's two people that have been added to the committee that aren't here. I'm assuming they'll show up there, but Tracy Whitfield talked to me last night that she wished that there were a couple other people on the committee. They were on it last year. And so they've been added to the committee. We have five voting members. The idea is that 5 people vote, but I think we might have a situation where we have like 7 or 8 people. And we can just take another vote, an informal vote or something, but the people are, let me just read you their names. I'm hoping they'll be here.
Say it's muted.
No, it's the other focus Springfield.
Is that thing gonna stay on the screen?
No.
Here.
Hey, Sean.
I can do
We're just trying to get that white block off the screen. Yeah, do that.
Should be good to go.
All right, great, thank
Oh.
you.
Still there.
You want to take this out the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There you go.
All right,
Should be all set. Sorry about
great,
that.
thanks, Sean, no problem. So the 2 people that have been added, we have Regina Tillery, who is on remote. Welcome, Regina. Can you hear us?
Thank you.
You can hear us, great. And I don't know, Ruth Ann Hamilton Stutz is, you're here, all right, perfect, so both of you are here, great. So that makes 8 of us on the committee and a few other people from finance, and on the screen, we have Diana from the committee, we have Richie Allen, we have Zeta, is that Patrick, is that you in the middle? That's you, okay. Council President Fenton is here as well. So today, we had one meeting for those, the 2 new people who just joined us today. We had one meeting last week. It was really more of a process kind of meeting where we just got into this stuff again. We didn't have any real data. We just had a need to make sure we run everybody through the process of what we're trying to do here, et cetera. So that was last Wednesday. And today is the first meeting that we really have data and like more stuff to discuss. Patrick's gonna do a presentation. That's Patrick in the middle. He's the chairman of the Board of Assessors. So our new reconstituted committee with 8 people, everybody's here. And we have several people from the finance team here. Kathy Bono, who is our chief administrative and financial officer. Kathy's here, Steve Lonergan's here. Next to Kathy, Pat Burns is sitting behind you, Ruth Ann. And who am I missing? Is there anybody else? But okay, Catering is here, Counselor Wall is here. So the drill today is we're just gonna have Patrick do a presentation with more data and more, we're at the point, we're not at the point yet, but between today and Monday, we need to come up with some decisions on what we're gonna do. So we'll stick to the agenda a little bit more, and then last week was a little more free-flowing to get everybody back into it. But now we're gonna be Patrick gonna lead us through the process of what we have to do. If you don't remember that, so on Monday, we have a 3rd meeting of our committee, and that night, it's really good if we are ready with the tax recommendation at that point. So we're
real brief, Councilor Allen, tonight is the last night of this committee.
That's right, that tonight's the Monday is the council, but more like the council, et cetera. So Patrick, why don't you take us through it?
Sure. So my name is Patrick. I'm the chair of the Board of Assessors in Springfield. And as Councilor Allen said, our meeting last week was a little more about sort of the workflow and the process and the role of this committee. And we were waiting for final certification from the Department of Revenue, which we have since received. So I'm going to try to share my screen, and I have a different PowerPoint presentation that includes a little more detailed information. So give me one moment.
Patrick, could you just explain what the Department of Revenue, what they approved?
Sure, so they
Which one?
approve our values and our growth. So, and I'll get to that in a moment as well.
So we can't really go forward till they approve it, and they just did that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh. Are you seeing the start of the PowerPoint?
I'm seeing a vertical stripe in the middle of your thing. Hey, Sean,
You should be able to screen share.
All right, I'm failing at this at the moment. Give me one moment. Let me close that.
Might have been on his screen, not our screen.
yeah,
Share. Okay, is this better?
We just have to.
better for you, but.
Perfect.
The one says I'm inept with those. I mean, I hopefully have some skills at finance committee stuff, but
Oh, there you go.
That's fine, yeah.
There for now.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jessica.
Okay, so this is the tax classification. This is going to be very similar to the presentation that I present to the full city council on Monday. So our role is to essentially take this information and make a recommendation for the full city council. And how we got here is the city council has to adopt a budget that establishes the expenditures for the entire fiscal year. So this fiscal year's budget was adopted by the city council on May 28th, 2024. And as Councilor Allen noted, the final tax levy is not actually established until the Department of Revenue approves our assessed values and certifies our growth. Once those values are approved by the Department of Revenue, the city council must determine the percentage of the tax levy to be paid by each class of property. And the class of property could be residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Once the city council approves a factor, we then have to take that information and submit additional documentation to the Department of Revenue requiring certification of our adopted tax factor, which would then allow us to send out our third and fourth quarter tax bills. And in order to make this happen, we have to have final approval by Department of Revenue by Wednesday, December 4th. In fiscal 25, our revenue sources included 62.3% from state aid, 29.6% of property taxes, and 8.1% of local receipts. And we're essentially talking about the property tax portion here. What
So, Patrick, could you just go over that again? We got a couple of people that just arrived at the committee, so this is the
Sure.
revenue that comes into the city.
That's right.
It's
So
a
this,
breakdown of the revenue, so it just run through those three again for us.
yep, 62.3% is from the state. Property taxes accounts for 29.6, and local receipts 8.1% of our total revenues.
Thank you.
The Board of Assessors, our role is to determine what is called full and fair cash value of all real estate and personal property. What that means is full and fair cash value is the price on which a willing seller and a willing buyer would agree upon if both are fully informed and under no compulsion. We have approximately 45,800 taxable parcels and personal property accounts that are required to be updated annually to reflect their full and fair cash value. The Department of Revenue, they are our regulating agency. So they are tasked with certifying that our assessed values meet both the full and fair cash value standard and that we are in compliance with Proposition 2.5, which we'll talk about a little more shortly. The Department of Revenue, that's supposed to say certification of assessed values, occurs once every 5 years, and Springfield's last certification was done in fiscal 23. The years in between those certification are called interim year valuation adjustments, and we are still required to update values in those years, and they must still meet the standard of full and fair cash value. Key assessment dates. So the fiscal year that we're talking about is fiscal 25, and that goes from July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. We are looking at the valuation date as of January 1st of 2024, but the physical status date as of June 30th of 2024. So we take basically a snapshot of what is there physically on June 30th, and we sort of move it as though it was there as of January 1st to arrive at the value. Proposition 2.5. So this is where we're looking at three constraints. So we've got the levy limit, and the levy ceiling. The levy is the amount of money that the city actually raised to partially fund the city's budget. The levy limit is oftentimes the maximum amount that a community can raise. And this formula does look at, there's an annual adjustment, and that looks at last year's levy limit. It adds 2.5% of that plus the new growth. Those combined determine what the new levy limit is. The levy ceiling is the maximum amount of money that can be levied, and it is 2.5% of the overall assessed values of real and personal property. This does change every single year based on valuations. So as values go up, the levy ceiling goes up. As values come down, the levy ceiling comes down.
So has it been going up steadily the last few years?
Yes.
I have a question on that. For the levy limit and the levy ceiling, does that include the new growth from the last year? So let's say you have 2.5% that you add plus the new growth. Does the next year, does the 2.5 go off of the original limit, or does it go 2.5 above the additional new growth as well?
Yeah, so it's going to take in the entire amount, because we're looking, when we're starting at fiscal 25, for example, we are looking at the total levy limit from the prior year. So in the next chart, for example, that 265 million was fiscal 24 levy limit. That included new growth for fiscal 24. So then we do a 2.5% increase plus the certified new growth this year. So our fiscal 25 levy limit is 278 million.
So the levy limit gets raised by 2.5%. So overall from last year, you have the 2.5% increase on top of the new growth. Plus you have the the levy limit, the original levy limit plus last year's new growth, plus this year's new 2.5, plus this year's new growth all gets added.
The fiscal 24 levy limit here included the new growth from last year.
Correct. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So this one is the 2.5 on top of the 2.5 last year, on top of the new growth last year, on top of the new growth this year.
That's right, and that continues, yes, every single year. New growth. What is new growth? New growth is an annual increase in the levy limit that reflects increases in the tax base since the prior year. It's recognition that new development typically requires additional costs to the city. For example, new houses required additional services, including school enrollment, police service, fire service, and trash pickup. New growth also includes any items taxed for the very first time, including new additions to a house or business personal property items. New growth does not include any valuation increases based on the full and fair cash value market adjustments. New growth for fiscal 25. We have been certified for 6.3 million of new growth, and it consists of a combination of real and personal property. The most significant new growth is found in the personal property category, particularly the utility companies this year. A residential overview of the general market. So I have it broken down between single family condos, 2-family, and 3 families. So single families increased in valuation. This is average value now from fiscal 24 to 25 by 7.2%, condominiums by 9.5%, 2-family by 8.6%, and 3 families increased 11.6%. Chart showing the average single family value over the last 5 years. And I added in a percent increase. So in fiscal 24, our average single family value was 238,700. And this year, the average single value is 255,800. That is a 7% increase. And this chart is essentially what the city council and this committee is charged with filling out. So we know the single tax rate of 2035. The rest of the information is to be determined by this committee and ultimately the full city council. Assessed values. This was a question that came up in the prior meeting. So here's our total assessed values, and the question was, how much are the values per class? So in fiscal 25, we end up at $13.5 billion. Of that, 10 of which is residential, 1.7 is commercial, 327,000 is industrial, and 1 billion is personal property.
I'm sorry, could we just back up? I just want to look at those, the numbers on the previous slide for just one more second. Thanks.
Of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Patrick, it's just, can I just clarify that it's 327 million?
Thank you. Yes, thank
Yes.
you for the correction. Assessed values as a percent. So this is one of the focuses of this committee and city council, is to determine what percentage that each class will pay for the levy. And the starting point is the residential portion of the total value. So you'll see in 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, the residential portion went from 74.38% to fiscal 25, 77.25%. And this is our starting point to have a conversation about how are we shifting the tax rate to pay for the levy. The residential tax factor. This is setting the tax rates. So the city council and this committee, actually, we make a recommendation based on the tax residential factor. And a factor of 1 would be a single tax rate where both the residential and commercial, industrial, and personal property have the same tax rate. Thus, the tax is equal to their share of the total levy. The tax factor. So the single rate for fiscal 25 would be $20.35. And essentially, we get there by looking at the total levy divided by the total value, multiply that by 1,000. That gets us the single tax rate. From here, now we have to determine a split tax rate. And the city council may shift some of this tax burden from the residential class to the CIP class. It is a required vote from the city council, and it is the residential tax factor. The city council may decide on any residential factor, and the end results, however, the end result cannot exceed the maximum allowable shift to 1.75. So I put in here, the example is how we arrive at the factor, and it's the proposed residential levy divided by the actual residential assessed value percent. And this particular example, this 0.779096, does represent the maximum shift allowed to 1.75. This shows how the city of Springfield, since 2013, has divvied up that levy portion between residential and commercial, and it's represented by the shift. So you'll definitely see the last couple of years, we've made a pretty significant increase towards the commercial, industrial, and personal property. I think we all recognize it's been an extremely strong housing market. And this was one of the ways in which we could help offset some of those increases based on the housing market increases. This chart shows us in pie chart form what the shift actually does. So this is fiscal 24 data, and it's looking at the residential, the left screen is looking at the residential portion of the total value. So there's 77.55%. However, the shifting this tax levy onto the commercial industrial, the end result is that the residential portion pays 61% of the levy. And we arrive at that ultimately by looking at the two different tax rates. That's why there's a residential rate and a commercial, industrial, and personal property rate. In recognition of tax increases over the last few years, the city has used levy offsets to reduce the average tax bill for 5 years. So it started in 2021, we used $1 million, and in 2024, it was a little over $9 million. This year, we're using $3 million. So we have used 25.5 million to save the average single family tax bill $383 over 5 years. The average single family tax bill. So this is just the area average tax bills, and I also included Worcester, just a similar size city. And you'll see that we are the lowest single family tax bill in the area at $3,833. And again, this was fiscal 24. I would also note that out of 351 municipalities in Massachusetts, the city of Springfield ranked 329th with the average bill of $3,833. This also means that only 22 municipalities in Massachusetts had a lower average single family tax bill in fiscal 24. There are some personal exemptions that I want to talk about briefly, where someone can reduce their tax burden, and that is one of them is called the 41C, and that could be a reduction of $1,000. If someone is over the age of 65, there are asset and income restrictions. And I would just note that the City Council for fiscal 23 lowered the age from 70 to 65 and doubled the amount from 500 to 1,000. There's an exemption for people who are over the age of 70 or if they're a surviving spouse. There are asset maximums to qualify for this, and the exemption amount is $175. There's an exemption for homeowners who are blind, and this is $437.50 reduction. And veterans with a disability rating of 10% or more can get a reduction from $400 to a full exemption, depending upon their factual, their disability rating. Lastly, this is not a City of Springfield program, but just a circuit breaker tax credit. And it seems a lot of people are not super familiar with this. And essentially what it is it's a refundable tax credit for people over the age of 65. They must file a tax return. And I hear all of the time that someone's on Social Security, they don't file tax returns. And while they may not need to, they could be missing out on a benefit by not filing. And the formula, in short, looks at the total real estate tax for the year, plus 50% of the water and sewer bill. And if that is greater than 10% of the owner's income, then they are eligible for a tax credit. Lastly, there's proposals for next fiscal year to also help offset real estate taxes. One of them is a HERO Act. This is a local acceptance statute. This would essentially double the tax exemption for qualifying veterans. The next one, which will be proposed at the next City Council meeting as well. This is General Law, Chapter 60, Section 3D. This is a local acceptance statute, and it creates a fund that is completely supported by donations. And there would also be a committee that is created, which would define low income, elderly, and disabled. And once that committee makes those determinations and defines those terms, whatever is in that fund balance can be used to help those qualifying applicants to reduce their taxes. And over the last few years, the City Council has really said we want to create a program that's targeted tax relief. So that's exactly what this is. And there's another component that the mayor is committed to, and that is a home rule petition that would allow the city to initially fund the donations fund. If just the local acceptance statute alone, the city cannot appropriate any city funds into this program. However, we would be seeking a home rule petition with a commitment to initially fund that program with $1 million.
Can I ask you a question? It's Tracy.
Yes.
Patrick, as far as the donation account, can the city write for grants to fund it?
I don't know that answer at all, Counselor Whitfield.
Okay. Well, let's just ask and see. If
Sure,
that- Okay, thank you.
sure.
Patrick, are you near the end of the slides or were you?
Yes, I now come to the awful decision that we have to make tonight. So this is a chart showing the some of the tax rate options. So in short, the city council can choose a rate, a factor between a 1 and a 0.779096. And what that means practically is the tax rates for residential can be anywhere from $20.35 to $15.85. Same thing on the commercial side, the CIP side. The commercial rate can be from anywhere from $20.35 to $35.60. The mayor's recommendation will be to go to max shift, which would result in a reduction in the residential class to $15.85. The current residential rate is 16.06 cents. It would represent a 19-cent increase on the commercial, industrial, and personal property from 35.41 to 35.60. That would also result in an average tax bill increase to the average single family of $221.
Why don't we take a deep breath here for a second? And I'm gonna go around to the committee members because some people are more willing to speak up and ask questions. We give everybody a chance to ask a question on any of it. We just got an awful lot of information and it can be a little intimidating. So
Counselor, I have a 4 o'clock meeting. If you would just allow me to ask one question,
Sure.
don't mind, and then I will jump right back on, if you're still on, but, Patrick, how much, I'm sorry, and I know you tell us this every year, but how much does $1 million reduce the tax bill again?
It's about $15 per million.
15 per million?
So baked
Okay.
in, yes, it would be a $45 reduction from the $3 million levy reduction.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And I
Welcome.
will come back if I can.
All right, Tracy, we'll hold your spot.
Thank you.
Thank you. So why don't we just go around, I'll ask the committee and then go beyond it.
To still shoot the screen, or does it need all that stuff up there?
Patrick Hadery's asking whether we need to share the screen. We have the papers. So,
Brian?
thank you.
Hey, Tracy, you want Jules?
Okay, I'll start. Mark, do you have any questions? You've been through this a couple other years.
I actually don't know that I do. The only thing I was wondering if, any of the new affordable housing funds that are out there, if anybody knows if those could be, directed towards the fund that we were just talking about that was gonna be set up.
The target tax related.
The targeted tax.
We
relief.
can look into what, if the grants available, once we get it set up. We're hoping to get the home rule legislation, the $1 million in place. Another community did do it, so this isn't something new. The legislature has seen it. So it's just going through the steps, but while that's going through, the finance team will look and see if there's any grants or what out there that we could use to help fund it on top of donations.
Again, you're probably aware that the affordable housing money just got bumped up. They just put them, so.
So we'll take a look at that. We have a housing office and they're all over the affordable and the project. So I will talk to them and we can work on that. We have a grants manager who will work on seeing if there's any other money while we get the home legislation through.
All right, good question. How about Diana? Do you have a question or anything?
I'm sorry, yes, I do have a question and a comment. Patrick, you said that the commercial rate was only going up 19 cents at the max shift,
That's right.
but if it's currently at 34.91 and it's going to 35.60, am I not reading this chart right?
It's currently 35.41 and it would go to 35.60.
Why am I not seeing the 35.41?
Oh,
Is it-
I'm sorry, Diana, if you look up, you'll see on the fiscal 24, it's gonna be a blue section.
Okay, I do see that. Okay, because when you were talking about I thought this same residential rate line was the current one. Okay, so this is, the current residential rate is 1606 and the CIP is 3541.
That's right.
Okay. And then the red line is the max shift.
Yes,
Okay.
I think I kind of bounced around how I explained, so my apologies on that.
No, that's okay. I was actually reading it wrong and was a little bit more doom and gloom on the commercial side. So that's better. I guess I would just, I would just add that obviously I'm always here to advocate on behalf of the businesses of Springfield, but at the same time, the chamber wants to be sensitive to what residents are experiencing. So we just want to make sure that we have a fair split. And that Springfield remains a good place to do business.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are you all set for now? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Jay Latore, do you have a question?
Just one, good afternoon, Patrick. I just want to verify the $3 million in levy reduction that's currently proposed. That's a combination of interest from the T-bills and then the $1 million that the mayor is committing to allocate towards reducing the levy through this new initiative? Or is it different?
No, so the $2 million is correct. It's from the
Okay.
interest. And then there was a commitment of $1 million as part of the budget process.
Okay,
That is the $3 million that you see.
so the recent announcement from the mayor of a commitment to put $1 million towards this new fund, that would impact fiscal year 26. Do I have that right?
That's right.
Okay,
So that is unrelated.
That's a next year, yeah.
yep, I got it. Thank you
All right, good. Thank you, Jay. You're all set for now?
for right now, yep.
Okay, Freddie, have any questions?
Yeah. Patrick, is there a link when you went in there and said all these programs that people can try to apply for some type of tax savings for the various reasons? Do you have like one page that has all of these resources on it?
I do. It's through the city website, through the Board of Assessors page, and I can send you that link separately if you want to share it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is there ever a time that the levy limit would be less than the prior year?
No.
Ever, never in history, even if property values go down, the
Right,
levy
that would-
will still be 2.5% over what it was the year before.
Right. So if the levy ceiling comes down, which Springfield had experienced, if the levy ceiling comes crashing down, it would go into the levy limit. So then your levy limit becomes your levy ceiling. So that is true.
Is there ever a time that you guys would voluntarily lower that limit?
Well, the levy limit in the levy is based on the city's budget.
Right, so it would be based again on the city's budget. If the budget was lower, then we can lower the limit. And then last question, actually you already answered it, which was if values come down, that still does not mean a tax relief. So how do you make up that gap? Let's say you say we have to raise this much money, and then you showed us the formula at the beginning of your presentation that said now we're going to split this up amongst the properties. What if the value is not there to assess to match those numbers?
Well, there would always be, so the factor always determines the two tax rates. So I think maybe your question might be like if the levy ceiling doesn't support the levy?
Doesn't support, let's say the assessed values, right? So assessed values would be based on the mill rate. So when it comes to residential real estate, it's called the mill rate. So the mill rate is gonna be based on no matter what the budget, right? As we talked about, but if values go down and assessed value, let's say you say the mill rate, okay, so then at that point, the mill rate would adjust higher to make up for what we're missing in value. So there's not really ever gonna be any real relief for the residents as far as how we're moving now.
Right. So whatever the budget requires, If the values come down, but not so low that where you're hitting the levy ceiling, let's say they come down a little bit, right, we're still funding the budget. So
Okay.
then the tax rates go up. If the values go way up, which we've seen the last few years, the tax rate comes down.
Got it. I just wanted to clarify, I think for city councilors who are not on this committee or part of this discussion, I think they always ask that question, how can we see relief? And your answer is you won't unless the budget is reduced, and we hear that every year. I just wanted to clarify it, so I don't want to keep asking the same question, but that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Freddie. We got 4 city councilors on this.
Yep.
I believe, but there's still a few others that aren't.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, on that, so now to Ruth Ann.
I have no questions.
Zeta has a question. Go ahead, Zeta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So Patrick, in the beginning of the presentation, you talked about the median, the household, that we're the lowest tax paying. We have to remember that we are our median household income in Springfield is around $66,000 according to the data. Surrounding areas are greater. Massachusetts, actually, it's only 89,000. But I just wanted to point that out, which brings me to my point, which I always ask. And I think Freddie alluded to it, is how do we get relief for the taxpayers? I know that the programs that the mayor put in place are very promising, I'm hoping. But the targeted relief is dependent on nonprofits donating money to it. I know that he committed $1 million to start it, but we still, again, that's not going to happen till 2026, and we don't know what's going to happen by then. I know I sent you an email earlier, and I know you probably didn't have time to do it, but I was wondering if what the burden would be on the taxpayers, and I'm talking about residential, of course, what the burden would be on the taxpayers if the ceiling was reduced by, the levy was reduced by $10 million. And I don't know if you can do that off the top of your head.
Yeah, so for that question, it really comes down to, it's about $15 million. I'm sorry, $15 per million of
Per
reduction.
million, right.
So in that scenario, you would be looking at, you said you wanted to have the levy.
10 million.
So
So if
10
it's right now it's 275, so what if it was 265 million?
Oh, so that's just a $150 reduction then. So if it's a $10 million additional reduction in the levy, so if the average tax bill at map shift is going up $221, it would instead be going up $71.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And then
back of the calendar, napkin math.
yeah,
but-
yeah. No, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Also, I had asked for back in, like, again, Freddie talked about in the spring when we're talking about the budget and when we were adopting the budget, I asked about, vacancies in the city and how we can reduce the budget that way. And I did request an accrued savings report from Chris Frazier. I haven't gotten that yet, but I'm wondering if we take into consideration those savings and we put it into these equations that you are so good at doing, if we could decrease the burden again, right? Because I'm, for the last 4 years since I've been on the city council, this is my kind of like annual, cry for the residents. Yesterday I actually had a press conference at City Hall, and about 10, 15 residents came out who were talking about the need to get some relief for the tax burden, because and I don't know if you heard me say it, but you know, everybody here, if you're working for an agency, if you get Social Security, regardless of what it is, you're on a fixed income, right? Because every year you get the same amount of salary, you get the same benefits, and that doesn't go up because our property tax bill go up. You know, the income doesn't go up when our Eversource bill goes up. And that's what's happening, and that's what our residents are clamoring for. Last year, I know the city council remembers, you know, when we had the public speak outs that they came, I think maybe 10 residents came out and commented on how much of a tax burden it has been for the last few years. And as we saw in the report that you sent out previously, that it has been going up every year. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can find some relief for the residents. Right now, I know that the certified free cash was, I think, almost $20 million. If we could do 10 million of that and put it into the equation, then if it would just go up by $71, that might be great, right? The programs that you talked about, which last year we went on a tour, and I think we should probably do that again this year to let the taxpayers know that there are these resources. Unfortunately, a lot of taxpayers don't qualify for them. You know, like I have my two residents in Ward 2, kind of like my favorite two residents there that reached out because, you know, they're in their 80s, their house is paid off, they're on a fixed income, and they're struggling with their bills. And they I think applied for the one of the programs or some of the programs that you had, and they didn't qualify because I think they were like maybe $10 or $100 over their assets or whatever. So it's something that I think we really need to consider, and I agree, you know, that we need to start talking about this in budget season, which I attempted to do this year. And we did do a little bit because I think that the finance department did look at some of the vacancies that we had and they reallocated some money. But coming down to the tax rate season, it doesn't seem to be enough. You know, I know $221 probably doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people. But for some people, it's everything, right? Unfortunately, yesterday, one of the residents that came out, she said that she has to turn her oil off at night because she can't afford to heat her house because of the increase in bills. And it's just not the tax bill. You know, there's, of course, like I said, Eversource, the Sewer and Water Commission, everything is going up. And I think as a city, if we're able to, you know, offer some relief to our taxpayers, that's what we need to be doing. You know, I know that we have a lot of needs and we have a lot of you know, bills that we have to pay, but we have to remember that the taxpayers are the ones that are living in our city. We're one of the poorest cities in the Commonwealth, and I think we need to take that into consideration when we're, you know, increasing people's bills every year, you know, by $200, sometimes more. I think that's all I had. Hold on, Patrick.
Okay, thanks, Zeta.
Thank you.
We
Thank you,
will
Mr. Chair.
obviously be addressing that in some fashion. We have the last few years. But we have two members of the committee that haven't had a chance to express any questions they have. So Ruth Ann, did you want to? You don't have any? Okay. And Regina, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Sure. I'm new to this whole process, not new to paying taxes, but new to this process. And I'm just wondering, where are the colleges in this whole equation? I mean, I know in the past, I've been there. We've talked about the different colleges. Where are they in this whole tax equation?
Well, they don't, colleges are nonprofits like hospitals and you know, the YMCA and places like that. They're tax exempt.
Yeah, and that goes to the next question that I have. So they are tax exempt, they don't pay taxes, but they purchase all the homes around the colleges, and those are not on the tax payroll. Is there any way that we
You're
could
you're
do
on a
it.
really good, it's a really good topic, Regina. It's something you kind of just have to face. And Springfield College, AIC, Western New England, they all buy properties near their campuses. And those properties that used to pay, say, $4,000 in taxes, the next day they don't pay any taxes because they're part of the college. So there's a program called the pilot program, just like pilot, airplane pilot, PILOT. It stands for payment in lieu of taxes. And what that means is you hopefully would have nonprofits, et cetera, in your city be willing to contribute to the city tax base because of the services they get from the city. So when I first got on the city council, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, we had a committee that looked at that. Ended up with no outcome from it. I mean, there was a committee meetings for, it was when Jose Tosado was president of the council. It was a big thing of, an initiative of his, but there were meetings for months, but there was no concrete outcome of it. So, 10 or 12 years have passed, and that committee is reconstituted. Another committee like that, Councilor Victor Davila is chairing an initiative like that to see if there is something that can be done. So if there is something that can be done, and I was in a meeting last week on it. Jay Latore is part of this committee. He's on it. He's on that committee, and I'm sure probably some other people in here have been to meetings. I don't think if it has any concrete outcome that it's going to help this tax process. It would be a future one if it did. You know, the colleges have another look at it. They think of all the hours of service and volunteerism that their students do that benefit the city. So there's two perspectives, and it's really hard to get. In Boston, they had some luck with it because they have colleges with a lot bigger endowments than the ones around here. But I do remember 10 or 12 years ago, Bay State Medical gave $500,000. And I'm not sure they've done it again since. And some of you in the finance might know a little bit more than I do, but so it's on the table as something that we look at. And there's a committee, you'd be welcome to join the committee if you'd like to. But that's all I can say on that right now, unless somebody else has anything to add. But any other questions, Regina? Oh, go
Can
ahead.
I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I would just, we have, most of the colleges are also members of the chamber. And so I guess I would just add that the colleges, I completely get where you're coming from, and this discussion happens in a lot of communities, but remember, these colleges are providing really great quality jobs here in the city. They're educating a lot of young people in the city. And they're doing business with a lot of businesses in the city. So we should also just recognize that and appreciate that economic impact that they do have here as well.
Oh, yeah. And that it's just that I know they're educating people, but the people are also paying for their education usually. So, I mean, I get that. That was just a concern. It's always come up. I've been at city council meetings in the past where that comes up, and it seems like, it's kind of brushed over. No one, seems to really answer it. And I mean, I know when there's a fire there, like there was a fire at ASC, it was Springfield firemen that went there. And, so that was our resources also. So that's, it's just a question. So,
Good question.
putting it out there.
Yes,
Yeah, Mark.
I'd like to respond to that too. I'm sandwiched between Springfield College and AIC. And yes, they do contribute to the city of Springfield and to the residents around them. And those students that go there do pay tuition. However, the flip side of that is their students also cause damage to the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
At night, probably during the day as well. And the college does very little to control it, even though they have a handbook saying whatever, the outcome of it will be. They do very little to control those students, and the security can only do a certain amount. So just because they contribute things to the neighborhoods and to the city of Springfield, there is also a flip side of it. Springfield College used to provide food for National Night Out and the
Community picnic.
community picnics
Yeah.
as well. They didn't this year. I guess it was in retaliation of the residents and people from other parts of the city of Springfield coming out saying they didn't want Sheffield Street to be closed. So it's not all just, one side with the contributions,
Mm-hmm,
and they should pay something.
right.
So what?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question about that?
Of course.
You said that most of the colleges are nonprofit. I know that Springfield College, that's a private college, right? They're for profit, aren't they?
No, they're a nonprofit. They're not a
Oh.
for-profit. I mean, there's colleges, like, I can't think of the names of them, but, where they teach people skills and stuff. There's some for-profit colleges,
Yeah, I'm aware of those.
but.
Yeah, because
Springfield
I know I
College
paid a lot of
AIC
money to go there.
And a lot of them students come from out of state.
They do, yeah. All right, thank you. I just had that question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, of course. Mark?
Well, I was just gonna say, the nonprofit status, there's nothing you could do about that. And anything that they gave would be voluntary, right? The whole pilot program is a voluntary thing. You can't require them in any way to do it. One thing that you might be able to look into was whether any of the colleges could increase the opportunities for Springfield residents at the colleges as a way to, they might be more able to do that than they are right now. Because I can tell you, Springfield College is looking at a serious budget shortfall right now, major, the biggest. I've been there 16 years and it's the biggest it's ever been. They're declining enrollments for all the colleges. It's because there's fewer kids in the Northeast being graduating from high school by a significant number. And so all the colleges' budgets have taken a big hit. And I doubt you're gonna get, I totally understand where you're coming from with the pilot question, but again, it would be completely voluntary. Maybe somebody could talk them into it. But I think they would be much more receptive to increasing, again, the educational opportunities because they have excess capacity and they could allow more, again, Springfield residents in different ways to get.
That's a good
Well, they
idea.
did have a program some years ago, I believe when President Flynn was there, where they would offer students in the abutting neighborhoods. It was Upper Hill and Bay Area and maybe Old Hill. But they didn't market it.
Yeah,
They did very little in marketing. I worked for Springfield Neighborhood Housing Services. We did more marketing of it, but it didn't do any good because it didn't hit everybody. It's not something you can just say once a year and leave it there. You've got to do it.
They were
regular basis.
terrible at marketing for a
Yes,
long
they
time,
were.
but they're better at that. They've gotten better just recently at marketing, so that issue we might be able to improve
Because
on.
they're losing money.
That's right, but also, maybe we could get that expanded to all the residents.
No, that's a good idea.
I think that would, the neighborhoods right around is one thing, but there's the whole city.
Right.
Maybe we could.
So I think they get more people from the city than they do in the connecting neighborhoods.
In kind of in the same fashion, MGM is not a nonprofit. So when you guys come up with the levy limit, that doesn't include anything MGM. You say, this is what the levy limit is. And we're dividing this between all the residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property, except MGM. Can someone just explain that real quick?
Patrick, you
Yep,
take that.
Unmute myself. So yeah, MGM is part of what's called the 121A agreement. So they do pay us kind of directly through the city. It's really an excise payment, so they are not included as part of the levy. Now, all that said, they are basically the largest single sort of contributor outside of the state to the city's overall finances, so the overall budget.
And then that's included with the levy limit plus MGM money plus other things make the entire budget?
That's right, because, yeah, so there was a slide in there sort of showing the percent of revenue. Yeah, and so they're not part of the property tax part of that pie.
Thank you.
Well, I think that there in terms of MGM might just be to think about it or maybe get the numbers. If it wasn't for the money that MGM was contributing, how much would have to be made up?
Yeah, MGM, what we get besides a couple, there's a couple side funds, but the main thing we get is $17.5 million a year as part of the 121A agreement that Patrick just mentioned. So they've been here about 6 years, so 6 times 17 is 100 million a year, give or take. So that's what we've gotten from MGM, and it has taken that off of the taxpayer. But it's not part of this equation that we're talking about.
But if it wasn't there, the levy would have to be higher, right?
Well, it couldn't because we always reached the limit, so it couldn't go higher.
Right.
It couldn't go higher. We're already at our limit. We're at our limit every single year. If MGM money was in there, it would have to be a relief for the residents, 100%. Because we're past the limit.
Are we at the limit?
The limit is 2.5% over last year's taxable.
But the levy,
Yes, so we are at the levy limit. So we look at 2.5% of last year plus new growth. That would determine our fiscal 25 levy limit. We did subtract from that the 3 million. So that is the difference between the levy limit and the actual levy.
but when they set the levy limit, they wouldn't be influenced by whether MGM was giving that 17.5 or not?
That's correct. They're excluded from the levy because they are under a separate tax agreement, which is called the 121A.
If they were included, it would automatically only provide relief to the residents.
Well, we would levy, potentially the levy ceiling would be higher. So I don't know if that is a direct.
That was my point, is the levy ceiling would go up if it wasn't for the MGM money.
No, it can't because we're already at our levy. It's only 2.5 more than last year every time.
But the value isn't in
Right,
there.
the value is
Right.
not included.
So we would have to split it more amongst the residents is what they're saying to make up for it. But the limit the limit doesn't matter. The MGM is not considered part of the tax base.
I understand that, yeah.
So if you put it into it, it
But
would
if you
only
took
be a
it-
relief.
But if you took MGM out of the equation, right?
We still couldn't raise the levy limit,
Are you sure about that?
right?
The levy wouldn't be higher if MGM wasn't in the
We're already
equation?
at our limit. So it couldn't be
Doesn't
higher than the
include the
limit.
value of MGM presently, so
Yeah.
if you added that in, the levy would go up
Way up.
considerably. So
Got it.
we would be able to access that. I think the thought process was, if we ever hit the levy ceiling, we couldn't get the money from
Back.
MGM.
Can't
So
go backwards, right?
it would-
Got it.
All right, so we had a round of questions and
Looks like your brother had a question, actually.
is there anyone else with a question? Rich, you have a
Well, I
question?
was just gonna try to clarify on that, so that if MGM were to revoke or rescind its 121A status, which is a separate, chapter 121A is a separate statute under state law from chapter 59. All of the taxable property is under chapter 59. Chapter 121A was meant to encourage the redevelopment of blighted urban areas. So that's, and there are many other 121A projects in Springfield. Tower Square was the initial one in Springfield. So, but if they were to come off the 121A status in that very first year, that would qualify as new growth. Because it would be an exempt property coming on the tax rolls. So there would be a large surge of new growth potentially. But then for the subsequent years, as Freddie correctly points out, it would be part of the limit. It would just be built into the limit and would distribute that levy over the entire base in theory. So.
And that would in turn provide a relief for residents going forward.
It's really a decision for the council on the allocation of the levy.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, but if we did go that route, that would be how the residents would receive a relief after the first year.
Well, not necessarily. the surge in new growth would raise the levy so much that you'd be dealing with a very different limit going forward. And that
Got it.
limit, so you gotta be careful with that kind of forecasting. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. As a sidebar, yeah, Stephen.
Stephen Howard. Evening, everyone. Question. Seeing that there are elderly, retired, fixed income homeowners, when the property tax goes up, their income doesn't follow suit. So now, is there a way to put some kind of, say, a stopgap whereby once those property tax goes up, that those seniors on fixed incomes would remain at whatever level it is, or at least not increase at the same rate as everyone else? Because where I live in McKnight, you drive around and you see all these buildings, some of which are burnt out, not being rebuilt. You have vacant lots. You have people whose porches and some of the homes are being supported by wooden columns. Since they don't qualify because of whatever limits are set, they can't get the money to fix their homes, then the taxes keep going up. What kind of relief is there for them to make sure that they don't fall victim to these increases in increased property taxes? Can something be done to address that?
Sure. So I would certainly look to kind of the 41C as the first component. So that's the $1,000 reduction. There are income and expense maximums. I'm happy, to provide you with that information offline. I can send you applications if you want to distribute them too. That's one avenue. Another one would certainly be this new program for the local donation statute. So we're going to kind of see what the income requirements and maximums would be. A committee is going to come together to establish that. So one part of that could be maybe you're trying to target people who might not qualify for the 41C. Maybe they earn too much money for that. So that could be one avenue where that's targeted tax relief. Unfortunately, that would not be implemented until after the committee is established. And lastly, I would also recommend the senior circuit breaker. So that's the one where it looks at the total real estate tax plus 50% of the water sewer bill. And if those two bills combined are greater than 10% of that individual's income, then they are entitled to a refundable tax credit. The issue is a lot of people don't know about it because it's through filing your state income tax returns. So someone who is on Social Security and they don't have to file, that's what I hear all the time. Well, I don't need to file. And that's true, they don't need to file, but they could be missing out on this benefit. So there, the state assumes that someone over the age of 65 wouldn't pay more than 10% of their total income in taxes. So they get it back as a refundable credit. Now, there is a maximum amount that you can earn back, but for all intents for here, it would be a 10% sort of cap.
So just a follow-up, what kind of, say, campaign is there to inform these seniors who are not filing their taxes that is working against them not to continue filing because they're missing out on these? Is there any kind of outreach program that's going on so that they could be made aware of this?
Yes, so every sort of press release, we try to put it out there. I went on a speaking tour with Councilor Gouvan and Councilor Whitfield last year. I don't remember how many senior centers we went to, but we try to kind of educate people and inform people on that process. I think Councilor Whitfield also had tax representatives there at those meetings so that they could talk to a tax preparer. If you do either personally or through other contacts know of people who qualify, also know that if they end up qualifying, let's say this year, they can go back up to 3 years to file those returns as well.
Can we include
Can
something
we,
in the tax bill?
Um,
Like a notice in a tax bill that goes out with them and says, here are your list of all of these things?
So on the
I
back
think
of the,
everybody gets the tax bill. I mean, you go into senior citizens, the senior centers and the community is great, but everybody gets the tax bill. Why not just include all that information in the actual tax bill?
so
So can
all of the,
let's do 1 or 2 more minutes on this, and then we gotta get to
yeah.
the
So all
purpose
of
of the
that
meeting.
information regarding our programs through the city of Springfield, the 41C, the 17D, those are all on the back of the tax bill. The circuit breaker is through the state. So that is not on there. But you know, it's certainly, we are doing our best to try to educate people and inform them of this benefit.
Did you have a question, Mark?
Well, I actually was gonna suggest the same thing Freddie suggested, but in Hadley, they send out just a separate little flyer sometimes that, just to make sure that they get that information, added to the tax bill. So there's another piece of paper that had, for instance, you could have just information on that, that circuit breaker one as well on there.
Okay, so we'll take that as an action item and make sure we do it as well as we can on communicating with people. But Patrick, what would you like us to do now here? So
now is an opportunity where, so our role as this committee is to make a recommended tax factor to the full city council. So I'm gonna, I don't know if it's best if maybe if I share the screen again with that one page, or maybe everyone has it.
Everybody seems to have it here.
Okay. So in this scenario, if there's any sort of recommendation, again, we can go anywhere from a single tax rate, which would be 23.35 for both residential, commercial, and industrial, up to the maximum shift, which would end with a residential rate of 1585 and then 3506. I think we would need a motion from someone to make a recommended rate to the full city council. The mayor's recommendation is to go to max shift.
So how is that reflected on this sheet?
That is the bottom line. That's
the red line. Yep.
So that motion would be, someone would make a motion to recommend a residential factor of 0.779096.
And how does that, so we went to max shift, was there any other characteristics?
770.
Point
sorry.
9096.
That means we would have shifted the maximum burden that we can to the corporate, to the CIP side.
That's right.
And that's it. I couldn't go farther next year or anything.
Correct.
And was there any other characteristic that the mayor was looking at with his recommendation? Any other?
No, I think, you know, the financial assistance to the commercial industrial accounts over the past few years through ARPA. I think there's recognition, of course, of wanting to keep the average single tax bill as low as possible. I know the mayor met with Diana from the chamber. So we had a conversation with her as well. So those kind of components combined, the mayor to make the recommendation of going to max shift.
Okay. Gator, has to leave and she has a comment to make.
So I just wanted to be clear, everybody in this room tonight, you will come up with, before the meeting's over, you will come up with a recommendation for the city council?
That is the goal.
So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the mayor's recommendation of a max shift.
Okay.
Second that.
There's a motion on the table made by Freddie, seconded by Mark, was it? Yeah, seconded. Any discussion on the motion? That's how we normally do it.
It's as much as of a relief that we can provide to the residential side of things at this point. I think the commercial factor doesn't go up drastically to the point that, we can revisit this next year if we're in a different situation, but right now I'm going with it to provide the relief as much as possible to the residents.
Okay, Jay?
Just, I went back over the last 10 years as best I could to see what the annual proposed increase in the residential property total tax was. And as best as I could see, the 221 is the highest of the 10 years. Not by a landslide. In fiscal year 2023, it was $194. But most of our years were in the 150s, the 130s, the 80s. Even in fiscal year 15, it was a decrease. So I think, given that fact, although it pains me when I think about the business community, I mean, it's appropriate, because, you know, we're all talking to a lot of people, our neighbors that are struggling. And so, you know, I'm not a voting member of the committee, but I support it as well.
Thank you. Yeah, just so you know the process, there's conversation, a side conversation going on. I'll just go over last year. You know, I met with the mayor on behalf of the city council at, I think, the equivalent of like next Monday or something, and asked him for more tax relief, and we got another $1 million out of that. That conversation is still going on, kind of thing, but it's not within our. So I'm here, you know, and the mayor hears this, and if there's any other way we can provide tax relief from the city budget, we're going to look at that. And as it was said earlier in this meeting, we've given 25 million, I think, over 4 or 5 years of tax relief. So it's certainly something that's on all of our minds. We also have the issue of the pension, which the pension is a massive burden on us. It goes up 9% a year. So this year's payment, what was this year's payment, Pat? Like 70 or 80 million?
$98 million, but that includes the school department.
And that's going up.
$67 million.
On our side, it's 67 million, and it's gonna go up 9% next year.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
that's just something we can't do anything about.
Fiscal responsibility thing, we have all that we want to do for taxpayers to reduce the burden. We also have the responsibility of making sure that pension stays funded. That's the biggest. We are the poorest funded pension system in Massachusetts of all the public pension systems. We were 26% funded when I got involved with this. Are we up in the 40s now?
We're at 40%.
Right at 40. So we're 40% funded. And, you know, 10 years ago, the second lowest was 42% funded, was the Boston Public Schools. How we got there, I don't know. It happened before I was on the council. There was some irresponsible financial stuff done, early retirement programs, or not paying the annual tax bill, something. We've been really responsible and in sync with the finance team and the mayor for 10 years on it, but it's really a massive amount of money. So when we have money, great to give it to taxpayers, but we also have to consider, you know, how much we give there. So we've already given our annual payment with 80 million or something. It'll be 89 million or 88 million next year. That'll be 95. That'll be 102. So it's at times we've thought of putting extra money there, and we did that a couple times, and then we backed off from that. So we wouldn't just pay what was due. We'd pay what was due plus a few million. So that's just another pressure that's on us. So. All right, we got a motion on.
What is the committee that has that discussion, the pension discussion?
Well, it could be finance committee.
But do you have a special subcommittee that discusses that specific subject?
The retirement board.
The retirement board. Pat is there's a 5-person retirement board that meets every first Wednesday of every month. Pat's the representative from the city. There's 4 other members of the pension who are in there. A couple former policemen and a couple. So I go to that occasionally. Pat has been our representative there.
So I think you were in the middle of seconding my motion, right?
Mark seconded it.
Okay.
Jake expressed support for it. You know, the voting here, we added a couple people to the committee. You know, the formal vote would be the 5 original members, which is Mark and Freddie and the other 3 people, Diana and Patrick and myself. those are your 5 original members. We added Jay and now we've added Ruth Ann and Regina. So I'd like to hear from everybody. And we'll have 2 votes, a vote of 5 people, a vote of 8 people.
Counselor Fenton has a.
Counselor Fenton?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just had a question, probably for Patrick. If we adopt this maximum shift of 1.75, do you know how many other communities in Massachusetts have adopted that maximum shift? And like which ones they are? Are we become an outlier in that regard?
We wouldn't be an outlier. I don't think locally, there's too many at maximum shift, but generally for similarly situated cities, they are at their max shift. So no, we would not be an outlier. And I was looking at that the other day. I didn't save the spreadsheet, I'm sorry. But I can send that out as well of the other communities and what their shift levels are.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. 2 other people to vote or 3 other people? Let's see, Freddie, we heard from Freddie and Mark. Diana? Yeah, how would you like to vote on that? The hard one.
I'm not sure. I guess I feel like I kind of want to take it. I wasn't sure really where this was going exactly from this committee. And so I would probably want to consult my board chair and legislative steering committee chair. It represents, extra burden on businesses and I am here to advocate on behalf of them.
Right.
So, but it is, Patrick, you're confirming it's only a 19 cent per thousand.
That's correct.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Vote what you think is right. So we'll say abstain or something for now. Patrick, are you gonna vote?
Yes, in favor of the, for the motion.
Okay, Ruth Ann?
Yes.
Regina? Regina?
Yeah, I'd say for the shift. I'm okay with that.
And I will vote for it. So it's basically pretty much almost unanimous except for Diana abstaining. So it's better for us if we have a vote tonight because we have to close the agenda for the city council meeting of Monday. And we're in a little bit of a better position if we have a vote out of the committee tonight. So Patrick, could you explain that, what we have to do Monday and how what we do tonight relates to that?
Sure. So I basically present this same exact presentation to the city council on Monday for the public hearing portion. Then we would go into the full classification part for city council, where Councilor Allen, you'll report out what this committee's recommendation was.
Right. And then it's turned over to the council.
How does one sign up for the public speak out? Because I know they want to know, they ask us a bunch of questions. Sometimes they even say, hey, Freddie, can you come up here and ask questions and stuff like that, or Patrick or Pat or whoever it is. But for people who want to speak, how do they sign up?
Well, let me check. Hey, Susan, are you taking public speak out signups for Monday?
We're doing that. I think last year. Michael,
Mike, do you have, Susan is deferring to you, Mike. Do you have any protocols to how you'd like to do the public speak out on Monday?
Well, I mean, usually we just let people sign up until 12 o'clock on the day of. So if they, want to write to the council office before or call the council office and give their name before 12 o'clock on Monday, then we can promise them a spot to speak. And if they're not signed up, then we can't promise them a spot to speak. That's how I would propose to handle it.
Okay.
If they don't sign up and there's more time, then we can, hear from more people, but we should try to get people to sign up in advance so that we can ensure that those who wish to speak and take steps to do that in advance can be heard.
So if you got, I'll pass this around, and Freddie, you want to put your name on there, and anyone who wants to speak Monday, just put your name on there and I'll get it to Susan and we'll get you on the list.
What about people who are not in this meeting? How do they get to you?
Well, it's the same process.
Yeah, they can
call the council
contact the council.
Yeah, as long as they do it before 12 o'clock
An
on
open
Monday.
meeting, anybody could have attended this, so I don't know what else to do. I mean, just that's the normal process. Just I'm sending this around so that we're here, we're in the meeting. Why not take everybody now?
Now, last time, did we make a recommendation, and not that it would carry any weight, but to seek out the extra, was it 3 million last time in relief?
We have right now $1 million, we have 3 million from the city budget, if you will, to supplement. And the 1 million is from, the mayor just offered 1 million. And 2 million is from those investments that we had 2 years in a row, and we made a couple $1 million off the investment. So we have 3 million. And the conversation of whether there's more, kind of a private conversation. It's kind of like, it's better to do it in a small group. So that's kind of happening off to the side, but that's the idea.
I thought I remembered last time that we made a recommendation as well to seek out, say, 2 million more to try to get that bill under 200. Because if you got 2 million more, if my math is right, that would get it down 30.
It goes down, but goes down below 200. But if you want to make a motion to do that, and if people support it, well,
I would make that motion, yeah, just to ask to recommend an additional 2 million to get that bill under 2, the increase under 200.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes? Tracy? Is that a vote or a yes on discussion?
I'm not on the committee, but
Right.
that is, I want to talk about it because I brought it up last night at the city council meeting, and we were told by Kathy Bono that the conversation is still willing to be had. So I think anything we can do to reduce the burden from our residents and, even on the commercial side, the better for us. So I definitely want that conversation to happen. What he decides, but the conversation needs to happen. And I thought it was going to happen before this meeting, but it didn't. So I'll be very appreciative if we discuss that. And I think Councilor Govan wanted to put something in place that we get a portion of free cash every single year without having to go back to the mayor and ask for it every year, just like you guys took the stabilization funds and invested it and we get that 2% or whatever percentage that is. If free cash is over a certain amount, in my opinion, the additional funds should go automatically to offset the tax bill without going to the mayor to negotiate it every time. We should try to put something in place. So I agree with her on that. I'm not sure what that amount is, what it looks like, what the overage is, but I mean, 21 million this year in free cash. We could do something to help our residents just a bit more. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I believe there was an ordinance that was supposedly going to make the agenda last night. But there was a ruling from the law department that only the mayor can initiate, expenditure kind of thing. So the council, if we voted that, the certain amount of percentage every year from free cash go to tax relief, it's an illegal ordinance. And under the form of government that we have, the mayor is the only person can initiate that. We can vote on it, what he puts in there. But so I think that's why it didn't land on the agenda last night. Because the law department ruled on it. But that doesn't mean we can't do what Mark suggested. And there is a
Mr.
conversation.
Chair,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Hold on, well, hold on, I'm speaking.
minute.
There is a conversation going on. I talked to Kathy Bono about it. She's here. She's among this whole crowd in this conversation, and you know, it's a it's hard. I know the idea was to create kind of a system and just have it happen every year. It can't be done that way, according to Plan A form of government. The mayor has to initiate stuff like that. So it's like we did last year, where I went on behalf of the council and asked for more money. The council hasn't designated me to do that this year, but I'm gonna do it as part of this anyway. And then we'll see where we get. Right now, we're at 3 million. And if we vote for this 2 million that Mark put on the table, so we had Mark and Freddie, anybody, let me just go around the table and see, you know.
Ben over there.
Thank you.
We're supposed to pass this down.
Counselor,
yeah.
question about the investment that we made that yield the 2 million each year. Was that wasn't an ordinance, it was just something that we agreed and decided to do. I don't think it has to be an ordinance, but a commitment from the mayor to do so in public. Even if we can get something in writing, I don't know. Counselor Fenton?
So your question is regarding the T-bills, if that was an ordinance. We didn't do that by ordinance. That was just, you know, through a discussion with the treasurer collector and the mayor's office. So yeah, the interest rates have been very lucrative. So over 4% for the last 2 years. Those rates are dropping. But it's yielded about 2 million annually.
Yeah, I'm happy with the same type of thing to go on. You know, doesn't have to be an ordinance, just have a discussion. Let's all commit to something and you know, try our best to keep the commitment while we have the same mayor, and then try to convince the next mayor, whoever that could be, if there will be, to agree to it too. Thank you for.
Thank you. Rich, you have something to say?
Yes, thank you. So as I understand it, right now, while there are discussions occurring outside of the context of this meeting, the levy would be the 175, excuse me, the 275 million number. That represents a $19.5 million increase over last year's levy, or 19,050,000, excuse me. And as someone who's been around this process for decades, that's the largest increase by a long shot in the levy. You know, as everyone has noted, you know, the levies needed to support the budget and the appropriations. Well, the appropriations, you know, were adopted in late May, and I don't know whether the actual expenditures have tracked. I believe they've tracked under the appropriations. And I know there's $1.5 million set aside to cover vacancies, but I suspect that the actual spending is at a maybe running, you know, a couple million, maybe more, below the appropriation amount. But I guess I would just point out that the levy increase is historic. And what's of note is that it's being shared approximately equally, residential versus CIP. And the residential levy would rise by about about 9,250,000, something like that. Just eyeballing it. And the CIP levy, which has been hovering in the 90s for 90 million range for a few years. Last year was 99.7. It would actually go up to 109.5. So you know, the the sum of the two increases is that 19,050,000 number. And, given that free cash was certified 2 weeks ago, yesterday at 21,275,000. And I recognize that some has been some of that has been appropriated for the settlement of that litigation. It still leaves a large amount of free cash for use to be dedicated to reducing the levy, to maybe appropriating some to the pension, the retirement board. Because as someone who's been retired for a few years, I'm not insensitive to that need, and that policy directive. But it just is interesting that here we are on Tuesday. The meeting is scheduled for Monday, or the vote presumably would happen Monday. And while there's been 3 million as mentioned as to be applied to reducing the levy, it would seem there's a lot of room in the 17 odd million dollars that remain in free cash to not just help the residents, but help the business community as well. There's I was there in 1980, fiscal 83, fall of 82, when this first classification vote occurred. And, we're a long way from there, obviously, but there was always an attitude of trying to mitigate the harm and the deterrent effect to the business community. They operate in a very competitive environment, and to the extent that we can, enhance the business climate, I think that they would welcome a CIP levy increase of less than 10 million. That were cut in half. I'm sure that Diana might move off of her abstention at that point. I don't know. But and I haven't spoken to Diana, but anyways, I just am struck by this historic increase in the levy, and I hope that there are productive and fruitful discussions between now and next Monday evening with regard to reducing the levy.
Okay, thanks. So we got a motion on the floor. We got two.
Mr. Chair, I don't think you can see my hand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead. Yeah.
So thank you for that. And thank you for that, Richie. So that's what I was thinking. If you're gonna be having a conversation regarding the potential to increase the relief for the taxpayers, both commercial and residential, I think that we should propose a higher number than, I think you said 3 million. There is a surplus right now, and I know that, our finance department is world renowned, I'm gonna call it. I'm not sure exactly what the award they got was, but they've gotten an award for being, fiscally responsible, which is what is helping us to get to this point. So I'm hoping that, when you go talk to the mayor, if we could talk about maybe half of whatever is left in free cash, right? I think a good number would be the $10 million so that we could reduce the increase to less than $100, right? And I think the taxpayers would be happy about that. I'm excited about the targeted tax relief, hoping that it will be able to benefit more residents, because that committee, when it's going to be put together, is going to decide what it is that low income is, right? Because that's what it's for. So I'm just hoping that, we are going to be listening to the residents, hearing what they said last year and this year, they're still saying it. So please take into consideration bringing to the mayor a higher amount than, just the, I think 2 or 3 million that was mentioned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Thanks. Just really quick, Mr. Chair, just to give a different perspective from that presented from Councilor Govans, I would be concerned about a proposal to take half of the amount of free cash and contribute it towards the levy this year. As the council's aware, throughout the course of the fiscal year, a variety of unforeseen expenses can come up. It was only a few weeks ago that we very begrudgingly had to appropriate over $3 million to a police settlement for actions that took place before I was born. And so a lot of this stuff is outside of the ability of the city to appropriately forecast. That combined with the fact that our pension system continues to be woefully underfunded, I would be opposed personally to contributing that large of an amount from free cash to the levy for those reasons.
Thank you. And I would just add that, last year at this time, we had that water problem over behind Big Y on St. James Avenue, where the whole water system shut down, or it was $4.8 million repair, and we weren't able to get money from the state for it. So just in between the 3.4 million we gave for that police settlement a week ago and the 4.8 from last year, that's $8.2 million of totally unforeseen things that we, that's, DOI recommends that the main use of free cash should be on single, is that what you say?
One-time expenses or in reserves. They encourage you to put it in reserves so that you can address things in the future, but you could never commit all your free cash now.
Yeah.
Do we have a minimum set reserve amount that we're saying, all right, in order for the city to function, let's say 12 months in reserves or whatever else it is. And then you have, like you guys said, I think you guys, between both of you just mentioned $7.5 million of unforeseen money that had to be spent, right?
I mean, the city's required to keep between 5 and 15% in reserves, based on the budget. We are at 7.
So we're not even meeting the 1-to-1.
Yeah, we're at 7%, which means they want you between 5 and 15. Some people look at it, it's like, oh, wow, you have 7. DOR says, wow, you're only at 7. So as the budget goes up, that percent goes down. So we have to continue putting into reserves.
Yeah, I would say, just to be fiscally sound, that should be a goal in general, trying to meet that reserve. And then I think the pension is a whole different conversation that's separate than this. But in general, I'm also for having something in reserve, because what if we didn't have that $4.5 million in reserves? Will we not have water? I mean, we can't go to Chase and say, hey, can we borrow $4.5 million to fix this water? So I mean, it's a balance of both of them, but that reserve is important.
So you gotta have 5% of the budget. The budget's 928.
Between 5 and 15% you're required. The budget was 928.
Minimum is 5.
Minimum is 5.
So the free cash flow can't go below whatever that is, 4.4 or
Right, you can't be, well, you
4.7.
have to keep your reserves at 5%. So that's why we keep trying to put money into it and maintain it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor still for the 2
Can I
million.
just add? Sorry. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that it's also, that's a lot of money, an extra 10 million that you may not have access to next year. And then what does that do to the impact, next year? You could see a huge bump in taxes if you don't have access to that kind of free cash next year. Or, I mean, last year you used the Eversource settlement. It's
There's been a
a
concern that
little
hasn't been
dangerous.
expressed, and I'm sorry, that hasn't been, I mean, this may be what you're getting at, that hasn't been expressed in this meeting, that when we keep supplementing the tax payment with city money, that eventually there's not gonna be any city money to do that. And then there will be, in the year that there isn't any money, there will be like a double hit on taxes, because we've been supplementing every year, so 20 million, what did we say, 25 million the last 4 or 5 years. We got 3 for this year, or you've got a motion here for another 2. And rest assured that if you vote for this, if we all vote for this on the committee, we'll take that forward, and Kathy and I will talk to the mayor somehow, and we'll try to get more. I just
got a quick, it's kind of maybe an ignorant question, but if you do run into that situation and the free funds have been depleted, let's say let's say you have the 5%, you can't spend more than that 5%, what's in reserves, where do you get the money?
Well, at that point, we wouldn't, we would have to cut the budget substantially, and we wouldn't be able to put any money toward the tax relief. And that's why you'd see almost a balloon payment the following year if we're not able to, and that's why the mayor said he will absolutely talk with you. He offered the $1 million to show that he will be, but I absolutely, and I said it and the mayor said it at the budget hearing, he cannot go back up to that 9 or 10 million per year. We just can't. We have to start cutting down on it because we just don't know. I mean, this year we did great with our investments, but interest rates have dropped twice.
But if you only had the 5% of reserves, say we have the minimum $4.5 million water break, you have to fix that. Where does the money come from if you don't have it in reserves?
So we would have to,
At that moment.
at that,
Deficit spend, the state allows the deficit spend.
Oh, you can deficit spend.
But what they do is they add it to the tax rate, so it become part of this process.
Got it.
right. So we still have that deficit. Out of the 4.8 million, we did get $750,000 from, and it's either MEMA or FEMA. And then there was another funding source that Chris Ignoy is going after. It's not going to be substantial, but it will be something toward the 4.8. And at that point, we then have to raise it. We did put funding aside from last year's free cash for that, but something like that could come up all the time. And if we don't have stabilizations, then we're gonna have to raise it at this point.
Right.
So that's why you can't deplete all your money right now. You just can't do it. There's so many things that could happen in the city.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? And then we'll come, okay, go ahead, Diana.
I'm sorry, as you know, I'm chair of the Hatfield Select Board and my meeting starts there in 15 minutes and I have to drive over. So my apologies, but I will have to leave in just a few minutes.
Okay, and we're trying to get this vote. We've been trying for a while, but there's been
We did get that
a
vote.
lot of good
This is a different
comments.
motion.
Raise
Yeah.
your
we got-
hand up.
My hand is raised
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tracy.
and I did miss a little bit of the meeting, but I'm gonna have to agree with Counselor Govan and Richie Allen. I don't think I agree to the amount of 10 million, but every year we say the same thing. And every year we come up with these 20 million, some of our free cash numbers. We are not having a water main break. We are not, like, we can't predict what is going to happen in the future, but so far, these things have not happened, and I'm pretty sure that our reserve fund is over 5%. Do we know what's in reserves right now?
7.
7%. We're gonna add more free cash. We're gonna add more free cash. And so we're pretty much in a good stable place. And so, we always have these conversations on what if this happened, but we really know what's happening right now. Tax bills are through the roof. This is what, the 9th year in a row that we've had increases to the tax bills? Come on. We had a lady in there last year crying that she will not turn on her lights at night because she can't afford it. And any little increase to her tax bill, she doesn't know what she's going to do. This is a homeowner that paid taxes for her whole life, lived in Springfield, born and raised, now in her retirement age. And other people are going to feel it that go into retirement that hasn't felt it yet, that maybe don't have the funding or the sources that some of us, including me, have right now. And just, didn't really know how to prepare, because some of us don't have the financial knowledge that others have, and maybe not prepared effectively through their lifetime, didn't really know how Social Security, how much the benefit was and things like that. And we're just like talking about what could happen in the future when we know what's happening right now. None of that feels right to me. I know what my constituents are saying to me right now. So yeah, we can say all these things can happen, and we do need to have a cushion. And I don't feel comfortable with 10 million, but I would definitely feel comfortable with 5 or even 4. But 2 million, I mean, come on. I mean, I know we have the 1 and the 3, but come on, can we get it to 6? Can we just get it to 6 million or something? Let's think about our constituents instead of thinking about, we have to think about what could happen in the future, but it hasn't happened yet. It have not happened yet. And we always say this. And then I feel like we're really over budgeting so we can have all this free cash at the end of the year. Like, yeah, it's a good budget, but why do we have so much free cash every year? Like, that's why our property taxes are like through the roof, because the budget keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. So why do we have so much free cash every year? Like, that is really a little bit of a concern to me. I'm glad that we're in this space that we do have the free cash, but I mean, I wish I had an extra 20 million a year in my budget every year. This, it just doesn't seem right, so we could do better. And I will propose an increase to asking the mayor for an additional $4 million as opposed to the $2 million.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. So the motion was made by you, Mark. You can amend it, you can go forward with the 2 million. We had several votes on the 2 million. We had, I believe, Freddie and you, Diana abstained. I didn't get through everybody else, but do you want to stay with the 2 million or do you?
I would,
I mean, let's just say this. If it's 2 million and I'm in a conversation, I'm gonna try to get more than 2 million. But it may not happen. 2 million, I think, is a reasonable number that would get us to 5. If you would approve that. Maybe we could get another one. I don't know if voting for another one is gonna make the difference. It didn't last year. And I was in that conversation with him last year. Pat was there, and helped out.
Start high and then negotiate. At least we got some wiggle room. If you start at 2, he can say, well, I'm not gonna do 2, but we can do 1, because he also did that before.
So
I just want to clarify, I was abstaining from the shift, the vote on the shift.
Let's vote on the shift.
Not
Okay.
on the amount of the contribution from the mayors.
So do you want to vote on this 2
I-
million, asking the mayor for 2 million?
I just want to, I'm not sure, honestly, like this committee's role, I think, is to recommend a factor as the levy as it is now. So maybe the recommendation is to not make a recommendation on these factors that are options. I don't know that for sure, but I was.
Yeah, I don't see the harm in, you know, Mark made a motion. I don't see the harm in the committee expressing itself. The committee votes for 2 million more and we can get 3 million more. That's great.
Okay.
Is the mayor gonna pay attention to it? I don't know. We're gonna try. But I just wanted to see if that was I thought it was a legitimate motion to ask for 2 million more. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Let's see if we got the votes and we can close the meeting down as soon as we get through this. So Mark and Freddie voted yes on the 2 million. Jay, did you vote?
I'll vote yes.
You vote yes. Okay. Mark,
I would vote yes on the 2 million.
okay, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
I will vote yes as well. Patrick, do you want to vote or abstain?
No, I'll vote yes.
All right. And Ruth Ann?
Yes.
Yes. And Regina?
Definitely, yes.
And I think that's the committee. Myself, I think we got committee votes from everybody. It was all in favor. So Patrick, anything else we need to do in this meeting today?
No, I think sums it up.
Sums it up. So this is hard stuff. Everybody, you know, on the council, we have choices. And in this committee, you feel the choices a little bit. It's hard. So I appreciate everybody's effort. I hope you'll come on Monday and be part of the next phase of this whole thing. And if you signed up to speak, I don't know where that paper is.
It's right there.
I'll get it to Susan and we'll get everybody's name. Anybody else wanna sign up for that? Unless there's anything else somebody has, I appreciate, does anybody else have anything else, I guess? All right, appreciate everybody's input from council members, from committee members, from the public. This is hard. We'll do our best to, if we get the 2 million and maybe a little more if it's possible. All right. Thank you, everybody. Great effort. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.